y'all, Nimby here. This morning we're going to be tying up some Black Bucktail Leach. Another one from my friend's box here. Oop, I pulled my thread out. Give me a moment. Morning. Sorry, just let me fight with my thread here. Come on, get in there. There we go. Whew. Man, I need a sip of tea or something. I'm obviously not on the ball this morning. So we're gonna tie that off here. Morning. Oh, yeah, that's good stuff. Hey, sorry about that. Let's get this together here. So, this morning we're tying some black bucktail leeches. This is a local pattern. It was originally tied in the Peter Hope Lake area of BC, so it's not terribly far away from me actually. It was originally tied by Roy Patrick, and this would have been done in about the he did a lot of tying in the 60s, so somewhere in that area, 60s, 70s. We're just going to do a nice thread base. We want to keep it a nice even full thread base to the back because we're going to be doing a tinsel wrap on this. And we're not trying to build up any bulk, I'm just need a thread wrap for the tinsel to adhere to and crush down on. And we just want a nice smooth transition. So just one after the other. I still haven't got my glasses from behind my desk. I really got to put that on my things to do today. Oh, I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. I swear I'm more coordinated than I'm letting on. Let's have a nice lazy wake up. I've been up for a couple hours now and made nice tea, a little fire. Hey crazy! Sorry man, I didn't look up to see who it was. I haven't seen you in here in a bit, Crazy. How you been, man? And K-Fish. Not normally awake this early, mate. Sorry, I actually fell asleep during your stream last night. Ugh. Well, I gave you some watch hours anyway. Just passed out watching the last bit of your stream. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay, so we're going to tie in 2 bits here. First bit we're going to tie in is some gold uni French in medium. I think I actually might have a chunk already cut here. Let me have a look. Morning, Robert. Airbrushing? What are you airbrushing? Well, I had some cut here, but I don't see it, so I'm going to cut me some more. I'm just gonna take a regular length here because we're just chasing the fly with it with a rib. This is kind of a bit more up K-Fish's style of streamer flies. We're into the streamers now, so we're gonna be doing streamers for, well, at least a couple weeks here. And I'm just gonna counter wrap this loosely on the way back. Skipping about every 5 wraps or so. And we want to tie this in the full length of the body. It'll help keep the body a little more even. Doesn't matter where you tie it in, if you're tying it in, just gotta actually tie it in. Come on, eyeballs, don't fail me now. There we go. Gotta actually tie it in. Whether you tie it in on the side or the top, don't matter as long as you're keeping it even. So once you get it latched in there, just keep it taut. Pull it. I normally pull just a little bit farther. Come on now. Guess I'd try and keep it in the right place. And same thing, we're gonna go about half back. Cool. I got a lot of really cool fly tying shirts. Although unfortunately they're all black, so I can't wear them with this fly because this fly is almost completely black. And it would just disappear into my shirt today. So, actually I did that slightly wrong. I want to back that up a hair here. So I got one wrap. One wrap behind there with the tinsel, which is our next point to tie in here. Yeah, that's cool. George, glad you got a new turkey tent. Only thing I'll say about that kind of thing is not to get the cheap ones, because I went with a buddy with the cheap one once, and it sounded like we were inside of a garbage bag. It was like just a moderate little bit of a wind, but it was like it was so noisy. But I know the better ones, they take that into account. Yeah, Crazy said he got his airbrush going, which is cool. Gotta like an airbrush. Okay, I'm gonna try and actually just tie this one in. Let's do it properly and tie it in the full body length. I was gonna just tie the tip in here. Especially with this larger mylar, you really run the chance of it pulling out. And this is your box standard Christmas mylar, so we're still being festive. Yeah, this is actually really nice stuff. Like, it's cheap as dirt, but it's durable as all get out. Nice and thick, shiny. It's a little bit harder to work with, being that it's thicker, but being that it's thicker, it's incredibly durable. Just takes a little bit more lashing to get it in place. Yeah, we're gonna go past our tie-in point, or tie-off point for our French uni tinsel, or uni thread here. Ugh. Pull that forward. We're just gonna tuck her in our bobbin holder for a second, and I just want to get a couple wraps on this behind the uni tinsel, or behind the uni French. Oval tinsel. Come on, brain, make the words with the stuff. don't need a lot, just like a bodkin width or one wrap. Really? Wow. There we go. Alright. And that'll stop your over wrap from sliding over your butt, which is a really common new tire mistake there. Not mistake, but this is a black Bucktail Leach. It's going to go to my friend's box here. And we're just going to bring our thread back up. There we are. And I'm going to tie this off with a half hitch because we're going to be using the rotary. And I'm going to use my half hitch tool to varnish the body a little bit. I'm not crazy worried about it, but just in case there's any large or high spots. And my wife found my super glue. Yay! I'm not going to be using it for this one, but you definitely can. I'm just going to use a little bit of head cement here in a second. So all I'm doing is knocking the high points down. I'm not worried about getting this perfectly flat at all. You can hear the rubbing on it. Well, maybe if I get closer. And I got all the high spots gone. So you hear like a tick, 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 tick as it's running over your thread, and then as you get it rubbed down, you won't hear it. Yeah, it's well, just to do my little spiel over again, it was originally tied by Roy Patrick from the Peter Hope, BC area. So actually not too far from where I am, only like an hour or so north. Okay, so before we wrap this, I am going to just throw like a whiff of head cement on there. This mylar is slippy, and that'll bind it right down so we don't have to worry about body moving or anything like that. Yeah, exactly. It's a type of burnishing. Not super necessary, but it definitely, if you tie two flies and you do one where you don't do it and you do one where you do it, you'll see the difference. It is a visual difference, and the more practice you have with getting your wraps consistent, you know, the less of a difference that'll be. But it's definitely a good habit to get into, that is for sure. So I'm just going to get a couple wraps here on the butt section first. I just want to get up to the point where my French is hanging out. So you see I got one kind of bit wraps there before the French comes out. And if you tie it in, like you can just tie it in right to the butt section, but if you do that when you go to wrap, the first wrap almost always slides over the round or the bend of the hook there. And just, not only does it look bad, but it adds a lot of durability issues to the fly. Because if that starts unraveling, it just gets loose and it looks really bad. It's totally a fisherman thing, not a fish thing. The fish won't care. But, you know, we're always trying to make our flies more durable, more accurate, just better in whatever way we can. And that's one way we can do that. We're just going to rotary this up, just slightly overlapping turns. And I did choose a golden shanked hook for this one, just because it was the hook I had handy that was the right size. Oop, I went over just a bit there. And that little bit of, really, twice? I must have a bump there. That's exactly what the burnishing stops. You can see right there. I'm actually just going to leave it there so I can show you guys. This is going to get buried in, so no one's going to see it anyway. But in any case, you can see that little lump right there. At least hopefully you can. Looks like my focus and lighting is actually really off. But hopefully you can see that. It's very minute, but there's a little lump right here. That's from a thread that wasn't pressed down quite as well as it should have been. That's what you're trying to avoid with the burnishing. So I'm just gonna back this up and we're gonna do a tighter, closer wrap for that section to get over that thread lump. Oh, it doesn't want to. Yeah. Huh. Normally you can kind of force it to go over top. Okay. Well, I guess we'll rub you down a bit then. Yeah, it's actually even damaging my tinsel there. I apologize, I just noticed the camera's a little bit out of whack. Looks like I'm slightly overexposed and the focus seems to be out by a hair. But we'll run with it. So I obviously was getting a little sloppy on my tie-in point there and I got it a little too thick. But again, fisherman problem, not fish problem. But that is exactly what will happen if you don't do it. So yeah, if you're doing some foil mylar bodies like this and you're getting all these weird kinky spots and it's just not laying right, almost 100% of the time you're going to have a little thread pile kicking up on you. The other important thing, I'm really pulling down on this hook here. There we go. The other important thing with these type of bodies and doing buck flies is your buck won't, or whatever you're tying in for your streamer, whether it's poly or buck or whatever your wings are going to be, even feathers, doesn't matter, really any material. You have to tie it on a thread base. You can't tie it against your mylar. It's just way too slippy. It's just going to move all over the place and look like bunks. So always give yourself a good chunk. I think you see there, giving myself a good chunk to the eye to tie everything in. And I'm going to back wrap this. Like I said, that's why that doesn't matter to me so much, that I'm going to back wrap that with thread here anyway and bury it. Save that chunk for some smaller ones. I might do a couple smaller ones. And now we're just going to wrap this back. I'm just trying to make an even thread base going back. We'll try and catch that corner in and bury that if it's going to be a good boy. My doggo is like super energetic this morning. I'm not sure why, but he is. Maybe exhausted with all the everything going on. So I'm not trying to build this up so much as I'm trying to give it a consistent, and not necessarily flat. It doesn't have to be flat, just consistent taper on it down to the head. In fact, you don't necessarily want a flat surface there. You want something that has a little bit of an angle to it. If it's too flat, it's going to lay right against your body and it's not going to give you any. You're going to lose a bit of life in the fly if it's too flat. But that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something that's going to be about a bodkin end width there, and then a little slighter area that we're going to make for a head. The original pattern calls for oversized large head on it, so we're going to probably create this whole area here is going to be head. I'm probably gonna embellish this one a little bit with some red, because I really like having a little shuck of red in my leech patterns. Actually, hold tight here. We're gonna 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I mean, you can get stiffer hooks. I actually wrap this the opposite way I normally do. Not that this is a right or wrong way for your wrapping uh, direction. I just went the opposite I normally do, and then that's why my thread's bunging up on this front end there. We'll get this together. I like this wrap on these to be fairly tight. You can spread this out like twice as much if you wish. But the fish tend to nail, at least in my area, they nail these right hard. And these get ripped up. Uh, 1 second, I lost tension there and it unwrapped a little bit. So yeah, I'm wrapping this pretty robustly, but you could have half as many wraps on there and just do a sparse wrap. That was probably morely what Roy was tying. This is just a personal preference for leech patterns because they just get ripped. So there we go. It just adds a little bit more flash and segmentation to me. So we're going with that. And I put my scissors down where? Where put my scissors? Oh, they're there. Alright, so that's kind of the fun, easy part. Like most streamers, you're probably going to start off with some kind of body of that sort. And it doesn't have any tail. A very common um, a very common alteration to this pattern is to have a red shuck out the tail. I'm going to be tying 2 red cheeks on it, which again is not the original pattern, but I really like that on my leeches. Just seems to trigger the fish a lot better. So just going to throw a few more wraps here to secure a thread in before we start tying it down. Okay. And for kicks and giggles, I'm just going to varnish that top of this head where we're tying everything in. Just so I don't have any weird stuff kicking me left or right too much here. That'll do. Alright. But yeah, like Rob was saying, especially when you're starting to tie these longer Aberdeen style hooks can not really be a pain, but it's definitely like a separate learning. No worries, buddy. Thanks for dropping in, mate. Have a good day at work. It's a bit of a learning curve because it just feels so different than tying on a stouter, smaller hook. You'll see me grabbing at it with my fingers and just bracing it a lot. And that's not so much that I'm worried about the hook bending up and down because it's tempered. It will, for the most part, go back to its original shape. Although I can easily bend this if I'm putting too much weight on it. But the reason I'm holding it and holding the shank is actually to keep my thread tension more even. If I'm wrapping it and I'm moving the hook up and down like this, as soon as I let go, I lose that tension, like it's adding extra tension. So if I'm holding the hook shank while I'm wrapping, I can keep a consistent tension on my thread going around. And that's a lot more important for keeping your materials in nice. Um, just the way our arms work and the way we rotary, if I'm doing this and wrapping without doing that, when I get to about here, I'm exaggerating, but most people will let go or let the tension off. So I'm undoing my fly. Right about here, like this bottom swing. Just because, like, you have gravity, it's the bottom of your swing, your momentum's going, you're almost always loosen up here at this point. And if you do that, and you'll see me do that by mistake on a lot of flies, the far side of your fly will get lopsided because as you're letting go here, your tension is actually releasing up top here. And when you do that, I have something I can tie in just so I can. Here, this is a nice bright color. This will work. Okay, so we'll demonstrate this. I know we're getting sidetracked here, but I just want to help Robert out. So if I'm tying this down and I'm bracing my hook right now, right? And I'm gonna keep consistent tension as I'm wrapping this in. You can see it stayed nice on top. It didn't buck around or move. This part here followed the hook, but it doesn't matter because we would be cutting that off. Now if I'm wrapping it without that, I'm still gonna have to hold the yarn on here. But if I'm doing it without holding the hook and I'm bending on the hook, it's gonna wrap. See how it's like following the thread way more because my tension's loosening at the bottom. So what'll end up happening, this is again an extreme exaggeration, I'm just gonna catch it a little better on the top here. So I'm putting a lot of pressure here, 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 and then I'm letting my pressure up. And as I wrap around, your material follows your wrap. So you won't notice it, but as you're wrapping stuff on, they'll creep and you'll get your material. You can see this one's wrapped more on the side of the hook now than on the top. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. Hopefully that made sense for you, but just since we had the opportunity to throw that in really quick. So most of the time when I'm holding the hook here, I'm bracing the hook not so much for the hook's sake, but so I can get a consistent wrap on my tension on my thread. Yeah, you can get like much more beefy. Like these guys are heavy wire, probably twice the wire gauge as the other one. And these will even still bend, but not nearly as bad as a thinner wire gauge like that. I gotta use those up. I'm just not sure what I want to tie on. Yeah. So yeah, you're not alone, man. It's a frustration, and it's just something that you kind of have to overcome. And yeah, the best advice I can give you really is just bracing your hook. Some people will brace the tip too. Depending on if you're left or right-handed tyer, you'll see some people will grab the tip because they're tying the opposite direction, left-handed. Anyway, we'll get toward the fly here. So this is going to be a two-tone. I'm just throwing a shuck of this white. Well, in this case, it's more of a tawny brown because this tail didn't have much of any white on it. One second here, just let me get it out of the bag. Sorry, I should have had this more together. This was my friend's harvest. Making some hooks for him out of it. Yeah, a lot of times this won't be this kind of cream colored hair. It'll be a lot lighter. And I washed this and cleaned it. At first I thought it was maybe a bit, stained or something, but nope, it was just the way that this deer was. So we don't want a whole lot. I don't want the stuff on the bottom of the tail here is going to be quite springy. So if you're tying something where you want that springiness, then some bait fish patterns, you want to have it poof out. So if you're doing like hollow fly or things like that, that can be a lot more beneficial for you. And I really don't want a lot of this. I just want just a whiff of a shuck here. So I'm trying not to get all the underfur, because that's going to go to waste. And we really just want, in essence, what this acts like, because this was an older pattern, this little shuck of lighter colored, sorry guys, I'm just cleaning it down here so I don't make a big mess. This little shuck of white in the bottom is the equivalent of a lot of more modern patterns would have a couple pieces of flash in there. And that's really what this is doing, is it's just acting as a like you'd have some crystal flash in there. This is just acting as a trigger point. Got a couple broken. So 1 second. I don't know, I'm being super picky, but like I said, this is for a friend. I want to try and get it nice. A couple broken fibers in there. Okay, so we're gonna stack that. That'll be a little bit more. I might have to thin this out. We'll see how it stacks up. But yeah, feel free to use white bucktail. I'm just using this creamy color. You can use a regular whitetail buck with some dyed black. I'm not using dyed black because this mule deer tail is black. Look at that. It's just beautiful. It's like inky black. Crazy. Don't normally see them that black. Which is cool because the dyeing process actually takes a lot of durability out of the material. It makes it a lot weaker. Okay, so we don't need or want a perfect pack here. There we are. I'm gonna lose some fibers. That's fine, I probably got a bit much. Two more broken ones. Yeah, that's kind of what we're looking for. We just want a little bit of a white underwing. Yeah, it's mule deer. He just harvested it this fall, and I dried it up. It's that one. You commented on the picture, but you saw me processing the tail, and I posted some pictures on the community page. For the underwing here, we just really want it to be just a little bit past our body point there. Again, this is just acting as a bit of an attractor. And we're going to tie that down with a loose wrap. And a second one. And then I'm going to do 3 wraps, and I'm going to be moving that forward towards the eye. And that should stop it from flaring as much. Good, okay. We don't want this one flared out. We want this one to lay somewhat flat. Just want it to stay along the body. I do have a couple kind of kinky broken pieces there, but I think it'll be fine. Okay, and then we're going to take this front, we're going to cut it on a 45. So we're not trying to cut it close. That'll let us bury it in a lot better. Hopefully it looks okay on your guys' side. I do have to be careful pulling on this because I don't have it tied in very well yet. There we go. So we're not trying to clean that completely up because we're going to be burying this whole area in. But being that it's white, we do want it to be somewhat neat so we don't have any white hairs sticking through. The black's not as meaning, like it's not going to impact us as much. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is bring our thread up. I'm going to kind of pin it with my thumb so I can get the thread through the middle of these fibers, like so. And then I'm going to bind that down. I'm going to do that a couple times here. And that'll really stop them from being able to be pulled out. It drastically increases your strength on that. Like I said, this is all going to get covered up, so I'm not too worried. I do have another broken one up top here. Oh, come on. There we go. Beauty. That's really all we're looking for. We're just looking for a little... Sorry, the camera does seem to be a little bit on the overexposed side, but it's okay. I'm gonna see if I can move one of my filming lights here. Come on, buddy. Stay. There. That might be slightly better. Alright, so the next part we're going to do is the black. The same idea as before. This time we're going to get a fair bit out. There's a little bit of some brown wisp in this one, but that won't... That's actually probably a good thing for this pattern. Our leeches tend to have a lot of kind of copper colors and browns and different things mixed in. So I'm gonna go for about a pencil width. Hey, good to have you in. Morning to you and Merry Christmas to you and your family. I guess we're on to the Happy New Year at this point. Yeah, I think this will be the last set of flies I make my friend Mike, and then we'll get his box over to him for a belated Christmas present. We got a ton of snow yesterday and had to spend time cleaning up from that. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this, like I said, there's a few brown flecks in there, but I don't want to stack this one. I want this one to be kind of messy and different lengths. Well, that's gonna be a thick boy. Just wondering if I want to thin that out a bit. So the tail length on this, you want it to be almost twice the body length. So if our body length is there, and we're gonna double that, bring it back to here. Yeah, I'm gonna try and crush that down. That's a little bit on the thick side, but we'll see how it goes. It might flare out on me a little too much. If it does, we'll just back it up a bit. So, soft pinch wrap. One more soft pinch wrap. And then 3 wraps going forward towards the eye. There you go. Hey, he finally got alive. Yeah, well, we're here pretty much every morning, give or take around the same time. But I know a lot of people are still sleeping or working or doing other things. But this time works really well for me, to be consistent anyway. Okay. Yeah, that worked out okay. Looks like the front twisted a little bit on me, but... There we go. You just want to just see that white underneath. The other thing it represents too is the underside of the leech is a lot lighter colored. In some cases it does almost go white. Most of the time it's more like a light gray like it is up front here. But again, that's just an attractor thing. This is not like a representation of a natural leech. It's just to get the fish to key in on it and bite. So we're going to cut this back pretty heavy on a 45 here again, gently, because we don't have that only tied in by a few wraps. Just like that. Give him a little flat hair top. Again, this pattern is supposed to have a rather large head. You can keep that, I tossed it in my trash, but you can keep that if you're spinning, doing any fly patterns where you're spinning some hair like muddler or whatever. You can always save your cutoffs like that and use it for that aspect or other thingy things. Okay, yeah, that actually laid pretty good. I'm actually pretty happy with that. So I'm going to, same thing, I'm going to pin the thread here with my thumb so I can take the tension off. And then we're just going to work it through. I'm going for about halfway each time, trying to get down a bit lower. And then tension again, pin it, cut through, tension. And this isn't to make it look nice, this is just to kind of pre-bind a lot of those fibers. Because it's like working with a stack of spaghetti. Like if you pull a handful of spaghetti out to make dinner, you can crush that handful of spaghetti as hard as you want with your, holding it in your fist. You can still pull spaghetti strands out of the middle of it. Because your tension is being put around the outside, and as it goes in and in and in, has less and less and less tension. So that's what that wrapping technique really helps doing it. Thank you. But yeah, that's what that wrapping technique helps. Once you have that, you want to work from your eye back when you're burying that and wrapping it in. We're not going to bury it and wrap it in quite yet because, like I said, I wanted to put those cheeks on. So I'm going to work my thread back up. We're going to get it just 2 wraps before the edge. So I have about 2 wraps to the, about 2 thread wraps to the edge of my bucktail here. The reason I want to do that is as I'm tying this in, I'm going to be increasing the tension on this pack here. And if I do it too close to the edge, I want these last couple thread wraps to be moderately tight, but between moderate tightness to loose. And that'll keep a nice curl. If I tie these in and I put tension right up against here, this will just poof right up. And that's not what we're going for. So just give me a second here. I got a couple cock on the rock feathers that I'm already was working with, so we may as well use those up. There we go. So red cock on the rock. You can use any red you got. I've tied these even with just some red yarn. So if you got, actually this wouldn't even work that bad at all. If you got like a little chunk of red yarn, you can just tie that in there as well. It doesn't have to be feather necessarily. The feather will move a little bit more, have a little more life, almost like a gill. So we want to go about half or quarter of the gap length. This is quite a large gap, but you get the idea. There you go. So just going to grab that off. Poop. We'll use the other side for the other side. Just going to fold it in half so we get the pretty feather on each side. And I want my taper, if it does have a taper, to go down. So you can see this has a slight downward taper. And I just want to add it nothing crazy. We just want a little hot spot for the fish to key in on either side, like a cheek. Just gonna do 3 wraps. I'm gonna leave it there. Remember, we're gonna be burying this head in, so you won't see any of that. I'm not gonna cut it off quite yet until we get this other side in. So we're just gonna grab the rest of this. There we go. And again, this is not part of the traditional pattern. I really like to have a little red shuck highlight on my leech. It's just like having a split tail on a nymph. If for whatever reason that specific addition to a pattern just drastically increases how much it produces. Yeah, that's it. Alright, so now we'll clean that up and we'll get our head built in. But yeah, your mileage may vary. Feel free to completely omit that part if it's not your style. Yeah, I mean, it's not representing, you know, a blood meal from the leech or anything like that. But the red keys in so well that there's a number of patterns. I got to tie some. I got all the materials. But one of the best producing leech patterns we have up here is pretty much all red, and it works a charm. I find you really don't need a lot. Like some of the best leech fishing days I've had have been with just a little red shuck out either side. Okay, I'm gonna work my thread down, but I'm not really trying to overly pack this on the way down. What I want to do is I want to build the head, and again, this is supposed to be a well oversized head on these. You can add, some people will even add like leaded dumbbell eyes and cone heads and all sorts of different stuff. But the heads are traditionally quite large on these. But you could weight the head depending on how you're fishing, because most of the time if you're fishing a leech pattern, you're going pretty deep and you do want it to sink well. So if you're not using a sinking line, you can definitely add things to your head instead of burying it in like this. So not only does it look good, but it'll add that extra weight and give you proper action and getting you down to the right presentation level. Now I'm working on cleaning this up. We're gonna make probably 2 passes or more. Let me see how quickly that cleans up. Generally speaking, your head will be out of balance symmetrically for the most part. So when I'm cleaning a head up like that, I'm actually looking at like the horizon of the head, and if there's any low spots, that's where I'm going to be adding the thread to. And a lot of times there'll be a low spot on the other side, especially if you keep your thread wraps fairly consistent. And if you're just working on the top, you'll typically end up with a decent bottom. I want this to be a little bit on the torpedo kind of side, almost like it had a cone head on it. But I'm not going to go super thick either. That's looking pretty good to me. And some people will throw eyes on these, like I said, dumbbell eyes, sticky eyes, googly eyes, all that kind of thing. I'm not 100% sure if I want to do that. I do see one low spot right there. So I'm just going to bring my thread back up, and you can see right there. So I'm just going to add a little bit of thread in there. But yeah, overall I'm happy with that. Beauty. Okay. So we're going to start off with just our regular head cement. Sorry, we're not going to start off with our head cement. We're going to get that tied in first. Play. But yeah, like Robert was saying, you can see how much these the larger Aberdeen style hooks will bend around on you, and it's definitely messes with your brain when you're not used to that happening. It just feels wrong. But you get used to it. Again, I'll brace the fly so I can tighten the thread. You can bend your hook, but I mean, if you're torquing on it that much, you're just pulling too hard, to be honest. Shouldn't need to pull hard enough to bend the hook. In some ways, it actually might be beneficial for you to play around with that, because it'll help you keep more consistent thread tension. Yeah, it's like sliding backwards down a hill or something. You're lizard brain goes, no, no, bad. There we go. So very, very traditional leech pattern for this area. Most fly shops you go into, you're gonna see at least 1 or 2 bins full of these with the big old gnarly heads. Generally a little bit of red. Like I said, if they don't have the red cheeks, they'll have a little red coming out the butt. Really depends on the size of the fly too. The larger ones, you'll typically see the red tip on the tail more than you'll see the cheeks. Some people will do like a red or orange cone as well. Like I said, um, for the head. Oh, let's get our thread cut off here first. Brr, come on, Nimby needs more tea. Give Nimby a sec here. There we go. All right. But yeah, like you go to any fly shop. I got some pictures I should throw up. The leech sections are a staple. You'll definitely see these. I'm semi-tempted to put some eyeballs on this because that would kind of look cool, but I think we're just going to leave it with a black head. And my eyeballs are quite a ways away. I need coffee. Give me the caffeine. Tap it into my veins. Alright, so we're going to get a... I hope this is like relaxing for... I really like red and flies. It was my traditional like tag key color when I was young. Like anything that had a little shuck of red in it or was red pattern, red flatfish, didn't matter. Red wedding ring. That kind of ruby blood red. It just always seemed to work for me. Whenever I was having a rough fishing day or it was cold and windy and the pressure systems were all off and the fish were wonky, the red always just seemed to work. And it's always been a favorite. I try not to let it pull me too much. It's just like, every fly I tie, let's throw some red in it. But it works. Yeah, hopefully that's what I'm going for. I want a nice, chill, relaxing stream that people can just, enjoy their morning, have their coffee, have a little chat, enjoy her hobby, maybe learn a few things would be cool too. Most of the info I give out is not earth-shattering, but I really hope that people can just improve a little bit, and even if I just get rid of some of their frustration, that would be really cool too. Yeah, I don't even know if fish see red, to be honest. I'm not sure if we know fully well how their eyes work as far as colors go. I know they can see full spectrum, or at least they have the ability to see full spectrum like we do. Oh, I must have kicked my camera. Sorry guys, didn't even notice. Come on, buddy. There you go. I can actually see the whole bucktail. Hey Kraft, good to have you in, man. I missed all your last giveaway stuff. We're all busy with Christmas and the whatnot. I missed your last couple Christmas streams there. Oh, I see in the notification pop-ups, but nice. Oh, speaking of which, I was gonna get a few of these done today, but since we got so much snow out there, I'm gonna have to clean the vehicles off, and I gotta take the kids down to town here, so I'm gonna have to. This will be our last fly, so I'll need a little more time to get prepped out this morning. But I'm happy with how that one turned out. So that's all good. A really nice body, wraps went well, mylar went well. All the bucktail looked really good. Yeah, I think he's gonna like that. Just those little tiny red cheeks seem to make all the difference. Yeah, everyone's got their stuff to do during Christmas, eh? So I'll do my spin and spiel. I'll go over this fly again here for all those that are joining us a little later. So that's a Black Bucktail Leach. It's tied on a size, what are we here? Size 4 Aberdeen streamer hook in gold. This one's just gold plated. The body is tied in with a gold mylar and then chased with a oval gold tinsel to give it the nice segmentation. We have a little shuck of white or cream colored bucktail on the bottom just to give it a little bit of reflection underneath, and then an overwing of black bucktail with 2 red cock in the rock rooster cheeks tied in. Give it that little red shuck on either side. It really helps to track them. The fly is tied with quite a large black bulbous head and was originally tied by Roy Patrick from Peter Hope, BC, which is not terribly far away from me. Peter Hope Lake, BC would be the full proper name. It's a killer pattern. You'll find this in pretty much every fly shop locally around in the area, some version of it. That's a very, very common river and still water pattern. Works treat for trout, and steelhead will even nail it as well. That's a wonderful old school bucktail streamer. Thanks for hanging out with me all. We got someone as a little snake. That's cute. I don't think I've seen the snake before. Yeah, this is yeah, I guess it kind of looks like Grosby. Yeah, thanks for hanging out, everyone. I really appreciate it. It was a good tie this morning. Enjoyed my tea and company. Little yabber. And we got a beautiful little streamer out of the deal. Okay, thank you all. See you tomorrow.